A few weeks ago, I sat down in front of an audience in a dusty old barn on a farm in Happy Valley. I was there along with thousands of other people to experience the Oregon cultural phenomenon that is the Pickathon Experiential Music Festival. I was also there to interview 3 multifaceted and multi-talented artists and friends. I'm Jen Chavez, and this is The Evergreen, a podcast from OPB about the place you call home. Dow Strom is a poet, musician, and multimedia artist. She's the author of the book Instrument. Julian Saporiti is a musician and creator of No No Boy, a songwriting and multimedia project about Asian American history. And Alicia Jo Rabins is a poet, musician, and Jewish educator. She's the author of the poetry collection Fruit Geode. A few years ago, all 3 of them started getting together to play and share music, and they informally call themselves Diaspora Songs. Today, we'll bring you our whole conversation from Pickathon, including some really, really great live music. Thank you so much for being here today, and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. So y'all refer to this collaboration amongst yourselves as Diaspora Songs, which I think is really lovely. And I'd love to start by asking each of you to kind of share what diaspora means to you and how you've been thinking about it lately.
The most straightforward answer is I was born in Vietnam and I came over. I grew up here in California from a very young age. And so I am a person of diaspora. And so the themes of like exile and exodus due to these like larger forces, geopolitical forces, has been like a big part of like informing the type of work that I write and I make. And I was interested in like some of the songs that I wrote like are coming from that experience. And I think the themes of like displacement are the largest part of like diaspora, the experience of diaspora that I'm like wrestling with, like what it means to be like someone from somewhere else and what it means to like kind of carry, like this scattered story. So yeah, I'll throw out also that just like as a poet, my nerdy like etymology, like I like the word diaspora. It's like the dia part means across or seed, and then there's spora, which has its root in seeds. So it's really like a word of, just betweenness, but also like what is seated in that, being between.
That's beautiful.
So I come to diaspora through my culture and heritage as a Jewish American. And diaspora has a very, I think in some ways, a different meaning for the Jewish community, which is that, Jewish people live all over the world and we're part of so many cultures and societies. And we also have this deep spiritual connection, not only to the Holy Land, but also to our texts and traditions that kind of travel with us. And so there's a sense of being part of 2 cultures at once. And one is sort of this like, maybe one's horizontal and one's vertical. And so one goes very, very far back and connects us to our ancestors. And then one is a deep rootedness in the places that we live and the sort of beautiful, productive tension between managing those identities is a big part of being Jewish for a lot of Jews, not for everyone. So that's my relationship to diaspora.
When did you guys learn the word diaspora? How old were you? Because for me, I was 27 because I started a master's program.
I mean, it might be like that. Like it probably is something that came with education.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't something my family talked about.
Jews talk about it a lot.
that term? Like the diaspora?
Oh, yeah. Like there, it will just be in like the title of like a 4th grade Hebrew school curriculum, like for sure. Yeah.
Ahead of the game.
Yeah.
I feel it was this word I'd never heard of. Like I grew up in Tennessee and I was a kid in a band. That was like my whole life. And then I went to grad school and then it became one of those like grad school bingo words that you'd be able to check off at anyone's paper and stuff like that. So it's always felt very top down to me, even though I think the way that we communicate is from a very bottom up or just in the middle sort of conversation, which is, I guess, what we're here to do today. But as far as what it means to me now, it's very much attached to hanging out with these two. And I'm also part Vietnamese like Dao. And so a lot of the connection that I had with her at first was, I think, her finding some similarities in the work that we both do as people who sing Americana-ish music, but with a pretty straightforward cultural set of influences and stories behind it. And then what I found really interesting, and I think this is something that's very scalable out to so many different writers of any kind of words, is when we've sat down with you, Alicia, is that, oh, wow, there's a lot of, like academically, I've known there's a lot of parallels in many of these communities, fraught politics, infighting, travel, displacement, these kinds of things. But some of like the personal stories that our songs will get to, whether it's first person or taking historical subjects. And then, I think diaspora is just a nice lens. And also I've found it to be Dao sort of rescued it into this very beautiful word. I hear the sounds as opposed to like the very thick books I once had to read that were called diasporic blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
I have to say, when you asked that question, when did you first hear
when
this
did you
word?
First hear that word?
I think no, not today, but I was an adult, and I think it was, one of those words that you see first when you read it and don't hear it pronounced. I think I thought it was pronounced diaspora, and then I learned how to pronounce it. So it was definitely not a concept
I think I'm still not pronouncing it correctly.
Had been.
Do you think maybe you're wrong, Dao?
I'm not pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah, diaspora. I like that.
It's a concept that I've been able to explore more in adulthood. And as I, have a job where I interview people and talk to them about all of their different personal stories and how they overlap, what you're talking about is exactly the type of lens that I'm interested in as well. I wanted to ask you, Dao, could you tell us a little bit about how you all met and started playing music together? I'm also curious, why this theme of diaspora was something that you all chose to associate with what you're doing together.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of Vietnamese people who are also into country music, honestly. So when I happened on Julian's music, which I think I just found online, the No Boy project, I was really struck by it and just what he was doing and writing songs about Asian American history. And then when I did my first song cycle here, the first hybrid work I did, which was called We Were Meant to Be a Gentle People, and I did a song cycle called East West, and it had songs that had to do with this context of diaspora and Vietnamese culture and perspective. Again, it was this weird music thing that I didn't know other people were doing. I think about the same time Alicia was also doing Girls in Trouble, but I didn't learn about her music until much later. So that is the reason that I reached out to them initially, just out of not knowing other artists who were working at these same intersections. And then it seemed like a fun idea to bring us all together and talk and share songs. So that's how it began.
I thought there was a lot of really interesting commonalities because Dao had been writing these one song I think she's going to play today, these country songs about our, so-called homeland, motherland that you don't hear very much. And I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. So the country music thing is not a choice. My dad was in that industry. And then so she sort of I think we got together at Alicia's house the first time, right? Is that where we met the first time? Yeah. And we just had this really beautiful, around a kitchen table and sharing songs. And I think Dao had more of a vision than we did, but I think it just opened up in that moment.
Yeah, and like Dao said, we all are really interested in exploring our, the tension and powerful intersections of our kind of cultures of origin and the world that we live in. And we all love American folk and country music, which is, traditionally a very white Christian genre.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something really powerful about kind of stepping into two traditions that are often seen as mutually exclusive and using the great power of music. I think one of them among many is that it can just erase boundaries in a really beautiful way and help us sort of connect and see past the invisible boundaries we like to draw between things. And I feel like that's a powerful similarity in our work.
Yeah.
I mean, I would also just add like part of like diaspora, just making art like from these perspectives. Like for me, the crossing of boundaries is also like or reaching out, to have conversations with other people, who are existing in different places in the diaspora, is part of the, I guess, reaction resistance, like building something, beyond the forces that like divided us. So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for giving me your origin story. I would love to get into the music. Dow, Julian just said you have a song planned for us. Could you tell us a little bit about what we're going to hear, where it came from for you, anything we should know?
Sure. Yeah, I was going to play a song called Perfume River. And it's actually like one of the first songs that I wrote, which is more than 20 years ago now. And I was playing music very much in like this old, roots style, traditional and vein. I was really drawn to a lot of rural gospel music, which we're also going to, play one of those traditional songs later. And thing I noticed I loved about those songs was like the storytelling, and also like, especially with gospel songs, like the themes of exile and the themes of like displacement, which I sort of transposed onto my own context of like coming from a place that I don't remember and having like this very vague, it's a concrete place, but it's also a place that exists like on another plane or in imagination. And, there's a ghost memory. So, and there are also a lot of songs with like rivers and roads and like hills and just features of nature. So I thought I would put a Vietnamese river into a song. So this is called Perfume River, and it takes place somewhere in the war years. In the perfume river, neath the water's deep, my baby lay crying as she fell asleep. I was running with her there in my arms, tripped on a stone, hidden by the dark. Oh, perfume river, you keep me running. I'll travel the world to escape your curse. But for those ones whose souls run deep as your dark green waters, no place is home. They say a palm is like an orphan, lands anywhere she can. Some others flying home as the skies are bursting, bright orange fire reigns where the gods once dwelt. far from your dark green waters, no place is home.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. I would love if y'all could share, how does that song resonate with you? How does that song hit with you?
I love that one. Before I met Dow, I had been on the Perfume River the one time I'd been back to Vietnam. Like me and my brother went back with her in 2013, and she left in 67. It was the first time she ever went back. And like a lot of Vietnamese people, my aunt will never go back, like people who left in the diaspora. And I had a really beautiful experience of this traditional Vietnamese tourist band for tourists, not tourists in Vietnam, playing all these wonderful instruments. And I discovered one of my favorite instruments called the Dan Bao that day. So I have this incredible memory of floating along the Perfume River as this very like princely tourist being played music to by these musicians. And it's really neat to find that place set so beautifully and this, like, with all this melancholy and sort of imagined and real nostalgia that country music can do so well at. Like the Dows put that into context. So it's like a really striking thing. And I think that's what, I don't know, like when I do concerts, a lot of times there will be like Viet people or Asian American people or people from other keyword diasporas who will find this kind of meaning that I'm almost overwhelmed by in these songs. And I've had concerts where people have like known about Alicia's work because we do kind of similar things. And they're just like hungry for something that speaks beyond the typical stuff that I grew up hearing in Nashville. And I think that's what that song means to me. It's very beautiful and it's a great country song. Yeah, you wouldn't know if she was Vietnamese or anything, or the Perfume River was anywhere but like Louisiana or something. Which also is where a lot of Vietnamese people are. So maybe it is, maybe it's moved.
Yeah, and for me, as someone who didn't know about the Perfume River before, I'm embarrassed to say, and I don't have this, deep background, I feel like it's such a privilege as a listener to get to step into this form, listening to beautiful country music that is such an amazing container for story. Like famously, country songs are just like story vehicles. And to get to travel to this place that I really don't know about and experience this narrative and this history through this like incredibly beautiful, pleasurable container. It just feels like getting to take like a journey. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's travel not only to place, but for all of us, a lot of these places are more in our head than anywhere real. And I think that's the sort of duality of that travel that's really nice in a song like Dow just played, is that we're traveling with Dow wherever she is. Like, I don't know, you might be on the Perfume River in your head whenever you're singing that, or you might be thinking of the real one, or a mix of the two. And to be, I think, diasporic from some communities, maybe more than others, or depending on your circumstance, is to kind of always be searching. And so rivers are nice for that. You never stop.
Yeah, no, that is really true. Talking about, floating down a river and that, very potent image that came through in the music.
They carry a lot of memories and a lot of sense of like people's emotions and belonging.
Alicia, I loved what you say too about country music being a story vehicle. I love stories, so thank you for sharing that. And actually, I want to stick with you because you have a song for us as well. So tell us a little bit about what you're going to be playing today.
Yeah, so I'm going to stand up because I'm using a loop pedal, so you'll hear me play violin many times over myself. And this is from my project Girls in Trouble that both of my fellow artists have mentioned a couple times, which is a song cycle about stories of women in the Torah. Sometimes I think it's like a double diaspora because like Jewish culture is not the primary culture, and then within traditional Jewish culture, women's culture is not the primary culture. So I think one of the things I love about this project is being like, what if this was at the center? Like, what if this wasn't kind of like an alternate version of normal reality? But, for every person, our lives are the center. So to sort of step into that story and inhabit it. This particular song is about a character from Torah who's not even really in the Torah. So she's like triple diaspora. She's what we call apocryphal, which means her name doesn't really appear in there, but there's a legend connected to the Torah that we've kept alive for thousands of years about this character named Lilith, who is like a first Eve. And she's been sort of championed by a lot of other kind of countercultures since then, but she is actually probably comes from an ancient Sumerian demoness, winged demoness. And if you read carefully in the book of Genesis, there's 2 creation stories. And in one, the man and woman are made as one and then split apart. And then the second one, God creates Adam, and then Eve comes out of Adam's rib or side. So there's one interpretive tradition that they're actually 2 different women. Like they're not two versions of the same story, but that this was a sequential occurrence, and that first woman was named Lilith, and because she was made as half of an equal whole, she thought she should get like an equal vote and an equal say and be equal to Adam. And they're kind of a little bit specific that she it kind of demands certain things in bed that like she wants, and he's like, no. Because they actually talked about sex in the ancient world. And so according to this legend, Adam is like totally overwhelmed by Lilith's sense of, entitlement to equality. And so Adam complains to God. God is like, you're totally right. What was I thinking? Sorry. And Lilith gets banished, where she becomes this like whirling kind of demoness flying out there. And then God does like a take 2 with the part of Adam's body and creates Eve so that she will always know she's subservient. So of course, that's only one of many, many, many ways you can read Genesis, but I kind of love that tradition. And when the Talmud is talking about that first creation story where man and woman were made as one and then split, which Plato also talks about, the Talmud uses the Greek word androgynous to describe this being beyond gender. And I love the idea that maybe if we kind of go deep enough into ourselves, there is a place in us where we are this original being, where we are, whole and equal and open and not all divided into binaries. So this is my love song in the voice of Lilith, thinking like maybe it was a real love story to Adam, but he was just like not ready for her 3,000 years ago or whenever that legend was supposed to happen. So it's in her voice, and it's called We Are Androgynous. spaced beings, torn from each other and rendered into two flaming swords guard the Garden of Eden. But I won't go back there without you.
Wow, y'all are killing it right now. Do you know how many loops you had going total by the end of the song?
Maybe like 8 or so. Yeah.
Wow.
What percentage of the time do you have to restart?
Do you want to know it? I shouldn't say the secret on the radio, but I'm going to. So every other loop song that I've ever written,
Yeah.
I start from scratch.
Yeah.
Because I compose those other songs in a way that gives me a little leeway at the end. But this particular song is like dun 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 dun. And there's no way I could actually make that reliably. So this one, I spent a long time recording one perfect loop and I stored it. So the very first loop of plucking is actually loop number 2 in my loop pedal.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I was thinking about while Alicia was talking, just this whole idea of, the theme of like separation. I feel like that is like a really key theme that I ponder a lot too, sort of. And I feel like your song is sort of questioning, like going back to like what is before that paradigm of like separation and division as our like origin story. And I feel like that's like such a crucial, for me, like there's also a separation myth in Vietnamese like origin tale. And then the themes of separation sort of resonate with like North-South division and like Exodus and exile. And I feel like it's at the source of like all the world's problems, really, like this paradigm of separation being like necessary. And so it really moves me and I resonate with that line of questioning.
Yeah, there's also, I think, jumping off what Dao is saying with your song, and then a lot of what you write about too, Dao, there's mythology, there's origins, there's mothers. I certainly get at that too, having a Vietnamese mom. And I think what's interesting when I was listening back again now, and maybe thinking about current events and all the history that Dao and I have lived through or studied with our culture, it's that kind of like betrayal prime by your own people sometimes that like stabs you the deepest. It's like the enemy that you were once one with. And that's like a really difficult thing to reckon with, which I think that such an upbeat poppy tune does very well. And I would just love like a maybe point of like author's clarification about how you end it lyrically, how you turn it. Where are we ending? Like, where are we starting? Like, where are we taking people with the lyric? And then that last lyric, I want to go back to or going back to the garden, but with you, like, where is that coming from? Because I have an interpretation, but it might be.
It's funny, like when I write, I don't necessarily think that intellectually about it, but if I was going to analyze it as a listener, as a listener, composer, writer, I think, I loved so much what you said, Dao, about these separation myths in the way that I think it's also an essential human thing. And we do live in a world where we have to balance. We can't just like unify infinitely, right? There is a separation, like we're each in our own bodies, and yet there's so much more than that separation. I feel like there's a hopefulness at the end of that song. I mean, it's kind of a song about healing. And it's also a song about how healing is, it's also about interdependence, right? So there's a lot of angry Lilith interpretations, and that's actually the traditional kind of Jewish interpretation, and even Christian, is that she becomes this enemy. And I wanted to have her be like, no, we both lose out when we don't get to see ourselves in each other and recognize that we're part of a larger oneness. And like, I can't be fully myself if you can't be fully you either. So it's not like, screw you, Adam, I'm taking over the garden now. It's like, until you're ready to inhabit the garden in this sort of like healed way, I actually can't quite be there either. And we all need each other.
Coming up after a break, I ask what home means to these three artists, and they'll come together to sing a 200-year-old song. Thanks for listening to The Evergreen, our podcast from OPB about the place you call home. If you dig what you hear, subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, and we will brighten your Monday morning a little bit with something new and exciting to listen to each week. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'm at Jen Chavez OPB. That's Jen with 2 N's, and I'll keep you posted on what we're up to. And remember, this episode about music and friendship and all the great OPB reporting and storytelling you hear on this show all the time is made possible by the support of many thousands of OPB members. Support our journalism by becoming an OPB sustaining member today at opb.org/pod. And now, back to the show.
So Julian, you have a song for us as well. Tell us a little bit about it and what we should know before listening.
So I'm going to do a little medley. I sort of have stopped touring so much and have been hanging out at a local arboretum playing music recently. And I just did a concert there yesterday, and these two will do one next month under the redwood trees. It's very beautiful. And so I'm going to sort of like within one of my songs that is very much from a first person speaking to the Vietnamese diaspora, which is a very cut into project where a lot of us South Vietnamese, the first gen, like my mom, are very conservative, like Trump voters, very hyper-capitalists, anti-communists, for some historical reasons. And then myself, who finds myself interacting with concepts of communism and socialism maybe too frequently for someone of my bloodline. It's like that kind of conversation. But within that, I played this, I set this poem by, I guess everyone's from a diaspora, but he's not particularly marginalized. There was this poet named Robert Service, and he wrote like the cremation of Sam McGee that I had to study as like a middle school kid. But he was like the poet of the Yukon, and in his first collection, Songs of a Sourdough, or something like that, he wrote this incredible poem called The Tramps. And I played it yesterday. I just started playing it, and Alicia said she really liked it, so I want to play it again so she could have a recording so I didn't have to record on my iPhone. So using this for utility.
Great. I'm glad we can provide.
But I think it's a really interesting, we're going to end with a cover of an old folk song, and this is a poem I set to music, so it's very much in that tradition, but it's a song of a wanderer. And I found it really, the first level I found it on was as a boy whose band had just broken up. And it's about wandering the road, being a tramp, just kind of like going along and all the, how you can live such a dirty, beautiful life when you're young and then your back hurts kind of thing. That's the lyric, more or less. But I also thought of it within the context of the song I'm putting it in, which is called Tell How No I Love Her, which is very much about being Southern twice over, having 2 civil wars to reckon with, being very cut in half. Thinking about my mom's cohort and all these, especially young men, soldiers and stuff like that, who were in battle together and then had to, them and their families oftentimes had to then go across the sea together. And yeah, like how you can layer on this concept, whether it's you've had to serve in the military or just sort of a vagabond or an artist or a juggler or a musician or whatever, the tiredness that eventually comes, but also how beautiful, having talked to people in Dao and I's community a lot for my academic work, how beautiful memories were made even in the darkest places like refugee camps or, being stuck on islands or boats and stuff like that. Because you're still young and you're still with your friends, and you might, some of them died, but some of them didn't, and they're still human, and that's the duality of it. So, we'll do this little medley. Jenny's mother in the nail salon, bedazzled star-spangled t-shirt, tiger mom. Saw the flag on my hat, told me to take it off. Tell Hanoi I love her. I keep no grudge against some old world kin. No, 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 not letting go. Now that's a bodhisattva sin. I named my Chrysler after Ho Chi Minh. Tell Hanoi I love her. Can you recall, dear comrade, when we tramped God's land together and we sang the old earth song, for our youth was very sweet, and we drank and fought and lusted as we marked that tie and tether along the road to anywhere, the wide world at our feet. Along the road to anywhere, when each day had its story, when time was yet our vassal and life's jest was still unstale, when peace unfathomed filled our hearts as bathed in amber glory. Along the road to anywhere, we watch the sunsets pale. Alas, the road to anywhere is pitfalled with disaster. There's hunger, want, and weariness, yet oh, we loved it so. As on we tramped exultantly, and no man was our master, and no man guessed what dreams were ours, as swinging heel and toe we tramped the road to anywhere, that magic road to anywhere, that tragic road to anywhere, such dear dim years ago. Twice southern with 2 civil wars, a fool to think that this place could ever be yours. The in-between, that's what you must explore. Tell Hanoi I love her.
Yes, the vibe in here is so good right now. This is beautiful. So, Alicia, you mentioned that you encouraged him to play one of those songs. What are your thoughts on the music he just played?
I'm such a fan of both of these artists. I mean, just it's like so special to be like a killer kind of like country folk, indie musician, and like a true kind of scholar and storyteller as well. And when those things line up as they do in these 2 artists, it just feels like I feel so held when I'm experiencing this music. And then I love the idea that you're also bringing in just this poem in English that's like centering it all in this universal feeling that we all share, especially as we get older. Certainly musicians, just being like, wow, I can't quite, maybe don't want to quite tour like I used to, and looking back fondly, but also accepting the change. And I think there's something about that with this kind of long view diaspora thing too, of like, how do you gracefully and thoughtfully like let things be what they are, explore them, tell the stories, and also not like shrivel up in it, like remain like generous of spirit.
What about you, Deb?
Well, I mean, just building off of that, that's something I definitely feel from Julian's music, and like a generosity of spirit and of storytelling, and even like if you listen to the lyrics, there's really heavy stuff in there, and there's really like just Julian has the ability to like tell these stories in a way that I don't want to say levity, but it's like there is something that it's like I'm able to like receive them without, I guess, being really depressed.
The depression is like the layer after the concert when you get home and maybe you're singing along. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, but like I'll also say like with like there like this the character of sorrow is like a big character of like Vietnamese experience and Vietnamese like culture, and there is a genre of music, especially like pre-1975, that has this like particular like tenor of sorrow that is informed by the war and like people living through this experience, and it's definitely something that's carried by that first generation and into like our the subsequent generations. Like it is like this inherited feeling. There are a lot of like people in my mother's generation who sit around, like listening to these old songs and sort of steeping in this nostalgia. So it's a really interesting, like, just I don't even like can't quite articulate it, but there's something about music that lets us sit in that emotion. That's like a place, beyond the rhetoric that there's so many political arguments are rife with. So that's how I feel when I listen to Julian's music.
Yeah, I think just whenever we sit down, the three of us, it's fun. First and foremost, we don't leave crying, because that's not sustainable. And I think that is not something that's good to extrapolate when you're having like everyone's in these larger cultural conversations that are very dark right now. About things that have happened forever. We're just way more aware, and everyone has a microphone and a phone now, so it's all everything all at once. But I think the joy that we feel when we get together talking about pretty heavy stuff, to say the least, I think it speaks truth to a lot of what I found on more of the researcher side, like when I was doing all my grad school work, and talking to all these people who've lived through these horrible American and trans-Pacific histories and stuff, is that people, through suffering, people still have dualities and multiplicities. And I think the last song that you did is like very upbeat and literally talking about duality and the androgyny of it all. And it's also very informative, like the hope at the end of it. And sometimes, like you said, Dal, like my lyrics, if you actually listen to them, I think if you just read them, they'd be a lot darker than the music attached to it. But that's sort of why this works, because you want people to sit with songs and then maybe feel something, but these people didn't suffer 100% all the time. There was still, that's doing a disservice to their agency. There was life and happiness and humanness that's found today for people living in camps or on boats or wherever, like the historical people we sing about. And that's something that you have to give credit to and also take instruction from. If someone can have 99% of their agency taken away and still find joy and play music or love or whatever, that's a really important thing for those of us who have all that agency to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I think that also goes back to our shared love of, the music of the Southeastern US and the sort of folk and country music. And like, there's nothing happier than a really good sad song. Mm-hmm. And some of the most amazing songs that people sit around and sing are like these really wild murder ballads, if you like listen to it. But it's actually healing, like Dal was saying, to be able to contain these intense feelings that we all share, no matter what our background is, and take a really heavy feeling and put it in like a beautiful container and experience it in time together, and then sort of like move through it.
Well, thank you so much. And I know we're going to hear a song from all three of you. I do have one more question, though, before we get there. This podcast I host on OPB, The Evergreen, we call ourselves the podcast about the place you call home. And in a way, we mean the region, but also we mean like all of the different places and things and experiences that can be a home. And I think that theme is kind of in conversation with the theme of diaspora. So I want to ask you all, like, what is home to you? Do you find home in each other in this collaboration in a way?
I think maybe the project is that we're searchers for home. It's like, and it's very hard to pin down for us three in particular, maybe.
Well, like I think I've gone through a lot of thoughts on like what is home, and I think the easy one, like to think that like, well, somebody who's from somewhere else should return to where they came from, and that would like resolve.
Yeah.
And it's very complicated to go back to Vietnam. I don't speak the language. It's a completely, like the country that even my parents, like lived in or whatever doesn't exist anymore. And so it's like, I don't have that romanticism of like, like returning to like geographic roots, or really even customs. Like, so I think I've come to this place where I'm really okay with home not being a defined physical place. So obviously I have one and I'm very grateful for it. And, I like living in Portland in the Pacific Northwest, as far as landscape goes. But like there's one poem that I wrote where I wrote something about, like there's a line about I've felt more at home inside some songs than inside any geography. And I think, for me at least, like art and like this is very much like a place where I can touch it. But I'm okay with it being a tenuous experience also. I'm okay with just being a passer through in the world. So
Nice answer.
Yeah, I have such a funny relationship with Portland as home because I was actually born in an apartment in Southwest Portland. And then when I was 4 months old, my parents moved to Baltimore. And I grew up on the East Coast. All my family was from the East Coast. They were just out here for school. But I grew up hearing about how much they loved Portland. And we came here on vacation. And I grew up with like, my parents' friends had sent them a Taster's Choice jar of ash from Mount St. Helens when it exploded.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up with that like on their dresser, so kind of hearing this Northwest mythology, but being very much East Coast. And then I lived in New York for many years, which is technically the Jewish diaspora, but also very Jewish. And so then I fell in love with a Portlander who was like passing through New York and ended up back here, which I sometimes used to call the diaspora of the diaspora, Jewishly speaking. And then it's really wild that I now am like raising my own kids like 5 miles from the place that I was born, and they're Portlanders. And yet I also feel this sense of, diaspora and displacement too. I love what you said about sort of like wherever we are as humans in the moment, like that is home. And there is something about music that's certainly like whenever I'm with musicians and writers, like that's home. Yeah.
Well, with that, I would love to hear this one last song you all have. And I know that this is a traditional song. Why have you decided to play the song for us today?
yeah. Well, really, it's a great song. This song
That's
is
enough
like,
of a reason.
yeah, it's over 200 years old. I don't think it's like known like who exactly wrote it, and it came from somewhere else, probably also. But it's one of the first songs that I learned that sort of drew me into this genre of music, and it's a song about exile and longing, religious, but you can transpose that too. It's called I Am a Poor Wayfaring Stranger. I am a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe. And there's no sickness, no toil or danger in that bright world to which I'll go. I'm going there to meet my Father. I'm going there, no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home.
I know dark clouds will gather around me. I know my way is rough and steep. Yeah, beauteous fields lie just beyond me, where weary eyes no more shall weep. I'm going there to
of every trial. This form will rest beneath the sod. I'll drop the cross of self-denial and enter on my great reward. I'm going there to meet my Maker. She shed her precious blood for me. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home.
Thank you for listening to The Evergreen, a podcast from OPB. Join us next week for a very, very special sneak preview just for Evergreen listeners of OPB's new podcast from the team that brought you Bundyville. Our technical director is Stephen Cray. The OPB podcast team also includes Mia Estrada, Julie Sabatier, and Sage Van Wing. The music in this episode is from Audio Network and Diaspora Songs. Thanks to Literary Arts, who helped us organize this event, and to Pickathon for letting us crash the party. And if you ever have a question for us here at The Evergreen, please reach out. You can reach us by email at theevergreen@opb.org. I'm Jen Chavez. Catch you later.